the two things that come into play when we look at the college football rankings and a couple statistics that are spit out at times that I would love to have a better explanation on. Number one is this projection by ESPN's Power Index of what is the probability that that particular team is going to run the table. For Alabama, it's 37%. So what is this? It's a game against LSU, good football team, but not in Alabama's league at this point. Mississippi State, same deal. Alabama should win this game by 2 to 3 touchdowns. Then the FCS game, Auburn is going to be a challenge. I just think it's got to add up for Alabama more than 37% chance of running the table.
I think Nick Saban would look at you and go rat poison, Mark. I think Nick Saban would look at you and go rat poison there. But
you're right.
I see where you're coming from. But when you look at it, for Alabama, this right here is the hardest part of the schedule because now you're facing a ranked LSU, a ranked Mississippi State, and a ranked Auburn. So now you get a chance to really prove who you've beaten versus at the beginning where you thought you had it with Florida State. You really thought you had it with Florida State, and no one expected the tumble from Florida State, but it's spilled milk now. You can't cry over it. So at this point, you have LSU, Auburn, Mississippi State. It's at the point where you can now sort of prove, okay, we've got a solid resume because these three teams ranked. We beat all these three teams when they were ranked. Now, depending upon what they do after Alabama plays them depends on them and their psyche. But you've got 3 ranked teams coming up for Bama. It's how do you handle that?
Somebody also has to explain to me the win probability factor during the game. I understand what it is. I understand the definition, but I would love to see the computation. So, for example, I'm looking at the Ohio State-Penn State recap box score summary stats after the game. Ohio State was like a 70% chance of winning that game. And you can do this with any game, especially a game where there was a big deficit that was erased during the game. And go back and look at the win probability. And it's just amazing to me that, for example, in this game, that Ohio State had roughly a 0.5% or a 1% chance of winning the game sometime in the fourth quarter around the 6 or 7 minute mark, down by 2 scores. Well, if you watch college football on a regular basis, you know that's not a great position to be in, down 2 scores with 6 or 7 minutes left, but it's not impossible. It's not a 1% chance, especially when you're the favorite and you're at home. The win probability statistic just completely passes me by. I think it's completely invalid.
Yeah, we're going to need to have, Bill Hancock, who's a part of that playoff committee, really explain that because I think he's probably the only one that you and I can both have a cup of coffee with, Mark, and he will sit down in his recliner and actually go into deep detail on why you bring up the win probability. Because at times, I really don't get it either, but I really think if we were to both talk to Bill Hancock, we would get a firm analysis on this is why we're doing this.